Hit me with the news. What do we got? Show me any story in the world. I'm gonna riff like you ain't never seen, buddy.
Okay, let's see.
Tap dancing, bopping, skedaddling all over this story.
So
they're gonna be going nuts out there.
UK turns its back on transgender ideology.
I got nothing on this.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Okay.
So apparently, I saw this story, and unfortunately, I don't know what this publication is, but it's obviously biased. But we can try and glean some sort of.
I'll be the judge of that.
Some sort of basic facts from it. And let's get rid of this fucking thing. So the Tavistock Center. Yes. By the spring of 2023, Britain's state-run transgender youth clinic will shut its doors for good.
Mm-hmm.
The NHS England announced it was closing the Tavistock Gender Identity Clinic last month after an independent report concluded that it was not a safe or viable long-term option for gender-confused youth people.
So what did they do at this place?
Well, the report conducted by the former president of the Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health found that patients were at considerable risk from clinicians' unquestioning affirmative approach.
Okay. In other words, like
anything you say, we will just say yes.
Just confirmation bias,
do it.
Trying to sort through, like, is anyone having an actual mental crisis here?
Yes, no other options but affirm it and seek, go in that direction. So,
and that it probably includes hormones and all that kind of stuff.
Yes. So soon after, the London-based legal firm announced a class action lawsuit on behalf of 1,000 families whose children and young adolescents were rushed into treatment as a result, suffered life-changing and in some cases irreversible effects.
And knowing Britain, it's like they said something at school, the teacher went immediately to a social worker, and the dominoes started falling, and all of a sudden they're in this place getting hormones and shit.
Really. But I found that odd, but we talk about this because it's in the news nearly constantly, or in some sort of way it is talked about on a large scale in this country.
Yeah.
And the UK is typically a pretty, liberal. It really isn't as liberal as a lot of people might think, though. It's not the woke shit hasn't really hit there yet. It has now. But
it's like we talk about. It's the old fascist use of seemingly liberal policies to gain the hearts and minds, and then use application of a violent government to solve every single problem. Which that's what we see. One thing that you always will hear when you criticize this, what I would call a sort of a new religion right now of whatever, woke or this ideology that demands that you be lockstep. It's what we're talking about with that Ayaan Hirsi Ali. Like, no matter, even though she checks all the other boxes. We always even go back to the Bolshevik Revolution because it's a means to an end. Like, these people that are at the center of these movements don't give a shit about these causes.
No, it's a movement. It's a power thing, and it is to stay in power. But what one thing you'll always hear is, why do you care? Why does this bother you? Or you know what I'm saying? Just like why do you harp on this subject? And
I believe I've asked you this question.
Yes. Well, one thing. So you may all remember Libs of TikTok.
Are we gonna get down to where the rubber meets the road on this issue? Because that's what I'd like to do.
Yeah. So if everyone here remembers Libs of TikTok, which was had come under some scrutiny recently,
we used to watch it all the time. I think.
And they just highlighted some of the more absurd people in that community saying some of the more absurd things and just their odd takes.
Then
on
the problem with that too is other people were just acting and trying to get on Libs of TikTok.
Exactly. You didn't know which one was authentic
clearly
anymore.
Fake, and it was that world is so crazy. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between the two.
Yes.
But yeah.
But so that's another thing is people would say, you're calling these people crazy, and they aren't.
Definitely.
They just don't. And I say these types of things are why people call them crazy. So Libs of TikTok on Twitter not too long ago, a few days ago, put this out. Breaking. I've uncovered mounds of more evidence of Eli Ehrlich regarding the international drug smuggling operation targeted at minors. Hope the DEA HQ sees this, and so we'll go through some of these. This is a man called Eli Ehrlich, who is a big advocate in that sort of community.
In the community of helping underage people transition.
Yes,
trans youth. Yeah. And
what he says is, as I've said before, if anyone needs hormones who can't get access, message me. I have a network with years of extra doses. This is only a Band-Aid solution to an ongoing political problem, but we can't rely on the state or medical institutions to keep us safe and healthy.
Now, I got to tell you, I'm no attorney, but I would consider this legally risky territory to offer underage children drugs.
Yeah, of any kind, really. Of any sort.
Dude, I wouldn't even give a kid an Advil. Like, there's no fucking way.
No.
I wouldn't give a kid an Advil if he broke his leg in front of me.
No, and especially because we don't like kids.
25 miles from a hospital. No, I just start kicking him in the leg. Yeah.
Is this where it hurts?
Right, yeah.
Just yanking his leg around?
There's no one to hear you scream out here, boy.
Hey, don't be so clumsy, Prelt.
So maybe I'm a bad example.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So this is an odd. So here's another one. Update. We now have a full network of trans people with prescriptions for testosterone shots and Testogel 2. We refuse to let Texas prevent trans youth from accessing care.
I don't understand how it got this far so quick where it's like, you know, why are you why are there, it's not just this guy too. There's a lot of people that are super focused on this idea of people making this really big decision when they're very young.
Doesn't make any sense.
Why are there so many people that can't see how that could possibly be a totally fucking insane thing to do?
I don't know.
You know, I mean,
yeah, let me go back to this
especially
one,
when kids have now grown up seeing the social equity in being a targeted sort of social minority of any kind.
Absolutely. You're again above critique.
So yeah, and I think kids they'll pick up on things like that intuitively without going through the logical steps of it.
Yes.
And whether or not it's something they actually want to do. You know, and
look, kids cut themselves when they're in a bad place.
Sure.
Kids, do lots of things that are unhealthy to gain attention, to try to reach out and get.
Kids are dramatic. They think they want to make giant decisions.
They want to run away.
13-year-olds commit suicide because their girlfriend broke up with them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because they got a fucking
horrible.
F on a report card. Yeah, I mean, kids can be like insanely dramatic.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we all were like I was regularly fist fighting my friends until I was like 27.
Not me.
Yeah.
No, until I was 47.
You lasted till 37. Yeah. Right.
This one underneath here says, after reading about the sickening new Texas directive against trans youth, I will personally mail estradiol and or spironolactone to anyone worried about the government coming after your kids. Now, they're not coming after your kids. In my mind, you're going after their kids. You're saying that you'll give them fucking drugs illegally.
I think
I don't quite understand it. It's not like insulin.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm very confused about this, but this is, like I say, this is,
and is this person in jail now or what?
So yeah, trans youth know who they are. They deserve autonomy over their own bodies. Redistribute your extra hormones to people who can't afford them. You're just as trans without medical transition. Second puberty is way more fun. You'll only look better with age. But that's what I'm saying is these
second
are the
puberty
people,
is way more fun. That's just a creepy thing to say any way you slice it.
Yeah, these are the people that are the reason that everyone looks at this. Most reasonable people look at this whole movement and go, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, man.
It's this.
Well, the problem, like we've been saying for a while, is the original battle, I feel like, of just like, don't beat us up.
Yes.
Allow us to exist.
Which we all agree with.
Which everyone agreed to relatively.
There's going to be fucking assholes out there that are angry, that want, revenge on the world.
Right.
They'll target anyone.
Yeah, there's going to be people always talking shit, but you're going to have to just get used to that. That's it.
It's unfortunate, but people will talk shit about you or me.
Sure. It just happened. Yeah. But I was talking shit about you outside when you were
to the spider.
Yeah, to the fox came by again.
Yeah, the fox was.
We did see the Radioville fox earlier, but
apparently not good luck.
No, I know. So yeah, but where the fuck were we going with this? The kids are turning trans.
Well, no, it's odd that you have these so-called advocates that are saying like, oh, if you can't, if your kids can't get enough hormones in them, I'll give them to them for free. I don't care what the law says. It's like, well, no, that's probably not a good approach.
Yeah,
It seems a bit radical to me.
yeah.
This is not a life-saving technology. This is what the proposition is always like. That it's somehow if you disagree with this, you're putting people's lives at risk. But
Yeah,
if anyone
because
has looked at the
they'll say because like the trans suicide
yes,
rate is so
but
high,
anybody that looks into that
causation
says
correlation.
it goes higher after transition. It's
Oh,
just
okay.
a statistic
Yeah.
that and then you'll
And that
hear
it just from like a purely I don't know, like ambiguous look at that. You could honestly just look at that and say, well, people who have this way of thinking are obviously going to feel tortured and may just have a higher suicide rate because of that. Because
That's-
they're
okay, yeah,
they're going
so
to be confused and angsty
Yes.
from their life being backwards to them. And
yeah, and also, but so then the next backlash is, well, yes, of course it goes up because society, doesn't accept them. And I don't think that that's the case. I think the majority of what you see on any TV, any corporate fucking board,
Oh, okay, yeah.
it's not. There's
No.
it's the most accepted.
That's the thing.
It's
too,
celebrated to a point where everyone else is like, okay, man, I don't know what were we doing? I don't understand it. So the
and it's been accepted for longer than people think in certain places. Obviously,
For sure.
there was at one time, police arresting people for fucking being trans or going to gay bars or whatever the hell
Sure.
they were
And
doing.
that's- I'm not
but
for that.
What I was going to
Let's
say,
be clear.
What I was going to say before was that it's like it's been a long time since we had kind of that like violent atmosphere for the most part for these people, even though they'll claim it's worse than ever.
Yes.
I think it's gotten so much better in the past 20 years
Yeah.
that it's like we say that now if you're still going to be the struggling protagonist or whatever of
Yeah.
this story in this
You have
movie
to
in your
almost
head,
be-
you have to find new things to
Exactly. It's just
to, like,
constantly pushing to the
even
edge,
if you've
to the
gotten to a
fringe.
reasonable level where it's
It
like
doesn't matter.
okay, you have acceptance from a lot of segments of society.
Most.
I mean,
I would
more
say.
than people like me who think you should legalize drugs. Like you have more support from the establishment than a lot of fucking things
Yes.
and people that are viewed as radical.
Yeah, and,
Right? Is that-
Oh
I
yeah,
mean-
for sure. And another. Yeah, I mean, we could keep going on this.
So
but-
yeah, I mean that's just the point. Is that it's just inventing new. And it's like now we need the kids to
the problem is the community that once was doing legitimate work with gay rights and the persecution of gay people. Look, gay people should be able to get married. That's fine. People should be allowed to be gay. People should be allowed to be trans. That's all good.
Right.
They shouldn't be under
That's
threat
kind
of
of the point,
violence.
is-
That is most reasonable people will say yes. Adults should be able to choose to live whatever way they feel most comfortable.
Here's something just in as a testament to this stuff goes back a long time and also may have been accepted in certain places a lot longer than people think. I remember I'm driving out in the I think my sister Andrea was there, I can't remember who all was there, but we see this sign that just says cashier home. So we go, what the fuck is that? So we go there and look up the history of it, and it turns out here, home of Albert D. Cashier, birth name Jenny Hodgers, Civil War veteran who was born in Clogerhead, Ireland, blah, blah, blah. And we go to the home. So basically the story is she wanted to fight in the Civil War, so pretended to be a man, which they kind of thought for many years was her sole motivation. But now, as historians look back on it, it turns out that she continued her life after the war as a man, as Albert. And lived in this small town, Saunemin, Saunemin. To this day, there's fucking probably a few hundred people there,
Yeah.
Small, rural, 1860s Illinois town, and lived there as a trans man. And according to documents and letters they found
According to
later and stuff,
legend.
was actually known to be trans by a few townspeople and neighbors. And I would have to think probably more people than they know, the way that people, news like that would probably spread back then,
Yeah.
But lived a long, happy life and was accepted.
Yes.
So it's funny when you see stuff like that. It just puts it in perspective how long this has been going on, and that maybe it hasn't all been a horror show.
Yeah, and look, here's another statistic.
Oh, but did I say they think she was a lesbian and wanted to and bang ladies?
That's
Because
fine.
Okay.
Again, cool.
Yeah.
Do your thing. But
More than cool.
another statistic that a lot of people that like to yell about this shit, not us, we like to calmly talk about this, but a lot of people that like to yell about this aren't comfortable with is when you look at the violence against that community and actually the gay community, it's almost entirely within. Almost
Maybe
all
not
the violence.
entirely, but
no,
yeah,
but it's the numbers are huge. They're like
Right.
80% is by other it's like
Right.
you know
well, that's like
domestic
with anybody
violence.
because that's who you're around.
Exactly.
Is mostly other
It's
people.
not
because
this-
people in the end do tend to self-segregate.
Yeah,
to a
it's
certain
just,
degree. You know,
Boys Town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have your you know, every city. But so I don't believe that there's a call for this. But again, you know, who do I? What do I know? But you had brought this to my attention,
what?
and this is another.
Oh, this teacher.
Yeah,
Okay.
this teacher.
So,
So
here's
this was,
now. This is where I thought you were going before because okay, now is this where the rubber meets the road with issues of like this? Because you're like, well, why does it piss you off? Why do we care? Blah blah blah. Well, because we get to a point where maybe we're like the world is maybe just a little too accepting. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. So
What do
this
you
is
think?
a person called Benda Tranferry at Band Fairy Art, and this is a post that I don't know which she wants to be, he or she wants to be called. And it says, "This is how I looked on the day my kindergarten class decided to debate whether I was a boy or a girl, as if I wasn't standing right there."
No.
Okay. Now, many things
Yeah.
can be said about this. One, why do you give a fuck what kindergartners are doing in any capacity when it comes to your own personal feelings?
Well, and obviously too, if they haven't been like brainwashed yet, and that's the natural reaction of human beings, just fucking
But
being
seeing you,
pure.
yeah.
You know,
if that's their
as they
pure,
say from-
unadulterated reaction to what you're looking like that day, which apparently is
Yeah.
this, well, then maybe that's the reaction that most people are going to have.
It's from the mouths of babes too. It's like most adults wouldn't do that, right? I mean, most adults would.
Yeah, it would
if
just be like, okay,
if like this person came to a picnic, would we have the big conversation in front of them? Probably not.
Of course not.
Would we be ducking to the side saying some shit? Yeah, probably.
Like, hey, is
But-
that is Brittany? What is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So and should we not be able to?
I'm going to. I don't know.
That's exactly right. Everyone is.
Yeah.
So, but I thought the comments on this were somewhat telling. And another thing is, this is the Occupy Democrats logic page.
So yeah, but
So that's an odd. I thought that was odd. They're
there is something really hilarious though about a classroom of kids just not knowing that that's wrong, being like, "Huh?
yeah. They're like,
what are
hey,
you?"
is Miss
Because you
or
don't
Mr.
you don't look
Jenkins?
like what you think you look like.
Yeah,
So-
maybe it's you're not pulling it off, whatever
Yeah.
it is. But they're fucking kindergartners. That's my first big problem with this.
Why do you care what children think your
Yeah.
sexuality is or whatever?
And
Yeah.
also, why would you be as offended if they were debating if your shoes were cool in front of you? Fucking who cares?
What do you think it would be like to have this as your kindergarten teacher? My kindergarten teacher was named Mrs. Rankin, and she was a big fat lady with a fun voice, and she
Yeah.
was always nice, and she read books, and she played the
Yeah.
piano and stuff.
Oh yeah,
and,
classic.
Yeah, and
Classic kindergarten
she
teacher.
taught us to things like how to read.
Yeah.
I remember I had
She touched my winky.
yeah, if you were into it, it was consensual, and I know she
mine
taught us how to skip for some reason. That was really
yeah,
important
gallop.
for like cognitive whatever.
Yeah, gallop and skip,
I had
because you
trouble
gotta
with
have-
skipping for
Did
some
you
reason.
really?
Yeah, I don't know
Oh,
why.
no
I just
wonder. Uh-huh.
never worked on it. I didn't do my skipping homework, and it caught up with me.
Well, that happens.
And before I knew it, other people
Yeah,
were
you were
skipping at a
being-
third grade level,
Yeah,
and I'm
and
sitting
here
there
you go.
just tripping over myself. Yeah,
Idiot.
just crip walking accidentally. People are just shooting at me. But no. Anyways, that's
But
what,
yeah,
that's
this
what
is a-
my kindergarten teacher was like.
My teacher was Mrs. Quinn.
Okay.
And she had a son with cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
And his name was Kevin Quinn, and I hung out with him, not because, but he had a go-kart, and it was quite awesome.
Yeah.
And we were tiny kids. And I remember one time when we were in first grade, this was up in Wisconsin, I remember he was sitting in his chair silently crying for like a half hour before Miss Metcalf noticed.
You were just staring at him creepily smiling. He was sitting
No.
there silently crying. I was jabbing pins into the bottom of his feet.
No, but yeah, he had fallen down and gotten back in his seat, and he was just crying. I just remember that memory always stuck out. Like, holy shit, Kevin's hurt.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mrs. Quinn was just what you just described.
Yeah, nice lady.
Nice lady with a weird perm.
Not a lot of
and,
nothing that confusing going on.
no, and also
nurturing,
probably didn't
you know.
let my opinion of her affect her daily life.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't think if she had social media, I don't think she would have been like, oh my God, I can't get over what my kindergartner said about my, my choice of blouse today.
No.
She wouldn't give a fuck.
She'd be posting her eggplant parmesan. And
Yes,
drinking
she would have
wine,
been, or
and,
like, playing, a hymn on the fucking piano or something
Sure,
for
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
to sing along to. So, but let's look at some of these
Yeah, you
comments.
wanna
This
see the
is
comments?
Occupy Democrat Logic. The author says, "Remember the emperor who wore no clothes? It was a kid who pointed out the obvious while the adults were afraid to speak the truth
Wow,
due
that's
to fear of
actually
backlash."
that's actually a great analogy for some of this stuff. you
It
know?
really is.
Because we have become as a society afraid to point out certain things that are just kind of ridiculous and
or at least
you know,
obvious.
Yeah, or obvious and like it is. It does take a kid to just be like, hey, why is that guy wearing a dress? And
Yeah.
everybody's like,
Oh my God! And especially in today's day and age, like 10 years ago, it probably would have been like, Billy, stop.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
now it's like, get him out of here.
no, it's like we
You know
have
what
to
I mean?
send him to re-education.
Yeah,
camp.
exactly. Honestly, like I'm sure that's probably going to result in something like that. Now, a lot of these,
Yeah, because if they want, if they want,
this. Whoops.
if the powers that be want every child to comply with stuff like this eventually, it is going to have to turn into some system of like schools having an HR department,
Yeah.
and it's like now you're going to have sensitivity training as part of your kindergarten
as it
class.
should.
Yeah, I mean it's
get
fucking,
these little mongrels in order.
Like I was saying,
get them in.
I remember learning, shapes, colors.
Sure, not the complexities of human
Dude,
gender
what would it
identity.
be like? What would it be like to be 5 years old and to be faced with that? Yeah, like to that entire issue in any form, to have to try to decipher that and make any sense of it at 5.
It makes
what?
no sense.
That's too much. You don't just jump into fucking like, rocket propulsion. You first start with a little bit of arithmetic.
Yes.
I mean that's you
Yes.
can't- you
Okay.
first learn sharing. And then the gender theory comes later. That's something that you have to build onto. Anyways,
No, I agree. Now, Tony Johnson said the Native Americans had a term for their males that were feminine.
Yeah, I know about this.
Yeah, they weren't looked down upon like the whole Christianity thing tried
Good.
to impose upon them. Yes, that is good.
good.
We're not saying to look down on anyone.
No.
But there are also people that have mental illness that also fall in this category. And that has to be able to be addressed and not be off the table, entirely. You have to be able to look. One thing that I bring up in this discussion many times is there are many sorts of body dysmorphia. Anorexia. Most people that are bodybuilders have a form of body dysmorphia where they feel like they're small. They can't not feel like they're small, and they're gigantic, steroided monsters. And they feel, okay, well, they're allowed to do that.
I was telling you before, like I grew up really, really scrawny, and to this day, I'll see somebody and say to like Darcy, like, oh, well, like that, that guy's about the same size as me. She's like, you're twice the size of him.
Yeah,
like,
we all have
like, I
these weird
that.
images of ourselves in our head.
But instead of bodybuilding, I just decided to eat a lot of junk
Yeah,
food. Yeah. Oh,
But yeah, so
the type of bodybuilding.
But yeah, there's another body dysmorphia, which I've talked about for like the last year when it comes to this subject. And I don't remember the exact, I could look it up right now, but it's a certain mental illness where you feel the overwhelming compulsion to have one or more limbs removed for no reason.
That's a classic one.
Or to have your spine severed and be paralyzed. Now, for some
yeah.
reason, that one is not pushed to the forefront, but it is still the same mental illness in the same mental illness category.
There was that guy in Jerry Springer back in the day that they wouldn't let him cut off his leg, so he injected feces into his knee.
Yeah,
And somebody made that remix of it that was like a techno song, and it was like, I injected 120 cc's of feces into my knees, see, or something like that.
Yeah,
but
these are also something
But
that
he
was
did
there.
that. He did that just so he could fucking have
Get his legs removed.
so it could be a mandatory thing.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. And so we don't promote those. We don't celebrate any of the other ones. My question is, why is it this one particular form of what was considered a mental illness? Now, I understand homosexuality at one point was considered a, body integrity disorder. Thank you, Andrea. But homosexuality was at one point categorized as a mental illness, and I don't agree with that. Okay? whatever you
Seems
want.
like a waste of time.
Exactly. I
It's
don't
like-
care enough to get it. Who cares? And I don't really care if somebody wants to feels like they function better as the opposite sex in general in life. Go ahead. Do it, but you can't say that there aren't people in this community that are batshit fucking crazy. Also, along with every community, Christians, pick one, pick anything, fucking fishermen. I don't care. There's all kinds of lunatics out there. But for some to
But I
be
think that- are you-
beyond criticism
Right, and you're worried that
is
like
insane.
yeah, like like going overboard in the approval of this lifestyle could lead to like somebody who's crazy. They're being afraid to not give them a job teaching 5-year-olds. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, because we don't know anything about that
Yeah.
person. But if they
See-
posted that and they were all confused about why that would happen, if this is even real, maybe somebody just fucking made that up. Who knows?
Maybe.
But I've seen it going around a lot of places.
JT says he always thinks he has dreadlocks,
Sure.
and he doesn't. Clearly,
Well,
his
I mean,
hair looks like that of Wolverine.
that's where this stuff, I mean, we've already seen stuff we wouldn't believe. And I could see it. I mean, just because we've already seen stuff that it seems so insane that we would
10
never.
years ago,
10 years ago
would have been like, what?
I mean, it could conceivably get to the point that you could go to a barber with just like a completely shaved head and be like, dude, if you don't cut my fucking hair,
Yeah.
you're a bigot.
Yeah, or
You know,
cut my
like-
scalp.
And then
They're
the
like, but I
barber
don't
has
want to cut your scalp.
you
You're like, no, but I identify as somebody without fucking head
fucking
skin.
Nazi.
Yeah,
cut my scalp.
fucking skin.
And then he does it.
And then he
doesn't know
has
what
to,
do.
and then you're
Yeah.
just bleeding all over.
The,
It's just- I
the
don't-
news shows up. He's like, I didn't.
Yeah, like I didn't want to, but I didn't want to be racist.
Right. Yeah.
It's like it's bordering on absurdity now, and it's rightfully being called out in a lot of circles. You've seen Bill Maher talk about. It's not right wing extremists talking about this. It is. But unfortunately,
Not well. It is when we're doing it.
yes. Yeah, we're. But yeah, it's unfortunately the only opposing views to this sort of ideology that has overtaken so much of what was once liberal space in this country, which I would call illiberal now, because if you're not lockstep in agreement with them on every single subject, you are fucking cast out. You are a alt-right
Pariah.
yeah, pariah, and you should be deplatformed and fired and should not be able to feed your family, and this is insane. Unfortunately, the only opposing views to this, and rational ones, I would doctors and fucking psychiatrists, the only platform they have is places like Fox News and Joe Rogan, and people are like, that's because they're bigots themselves. It's like,
How about
is
this?
it?
When they find a skeleton and
Yes.
it's a murder victim,
Yes.
and they want to figure out who it is.
Yes.
The very first thing they do, determine gender.
Yeah,
race,
DNA test.
race, and age,
Yeah.
and those are like the main things they can tell right off
And
the
they can
bat.
tell that from your skeleton.
Those are real things that
Yes.
are scientific. That's how they solve murders, right?
I just saw
So-
an article calling archaeology transphobic. I legitimately saw that. And
This
so
is what I'm
that's
talking about when I say
exactly-
like I would have never.
it's insane. Science is
believed
becoming, and this is the follow the science, believe science party. But the one area that science is null and void is biology. Suddenly, biology is bigoted, and I don't fucking accept that. I don't care how much you want to fucking yell about it or threaten people that they're going to be ostracized and stricken from society. I don't give a fuck.
Do you think
I like reality? I like truth being told, and this is the home. It's Radioville, population, truth. And so that's what we're out to get
And
here.
comedy.
And terrible comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, not our business.
Theater.
Wait, but was it a boy or a girl? Did we ever find out? JT says, not our business.
Yeah. There's a lot of shit. But
yeah,
did you have more like?
No, that
trans
was
things to
no, that
yell
was
at,
it.
or,
That was no. And for the record, again, none of us here give a fuck if you choose to live your life as the opposite gender. I don't care. If you were, in fact, I know people in my life that have done so, and I will call them by their name that they chose.
It's a thing I would have never even thought to have an opinion on, to be honest.
Yeah.
If it hadn't been so thoroughly thrust into
That's
my
the
fucking
thing.
face
Don't
constantly.
shove shit down my throat.
And like, well, it's like, dude, at this point, if you're like a participating member of society, you kind of have to have an opinion on this. And if it's, and I feel like, yeah, people that have, like you were saying, opinions that are not favorable to that community. It's like, well, I would have never even really talked about this unless you were constantly asking about it and making an issue.
Well, to me, it seems like once all of the rights were granted to the minorities in the sexual LGBT and all of that, it seems to me that there was still that population of activist types that were like, well, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
So what's next?
Well, let's not forget there's an economy there too.
Huge economy. In fact, it's in the hundreds of millions of dollars just in the surgeries that are being done.
Well,
on this
but I
front.
mean, even in just like in the activism economy, you know what I mean?
Punditry
If you've
and-
ever been to like big protests and stuff and seen how it works and seen how it's like you show up to like a protest with like 10,000 people and there's some kind of leadership and like I understand
There's a hierarchy.
There's organizers and whatever. But when I was young, I would look at those people and just be like, well, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
How did you get to like, why are you in control of this situation,
Yeah.
And you see that like there's a big business being run at a certain degree for like a lot of this activism, and if it dries up,
where do they go? They
that's
had
no
nothing.
good.
That's all
And
they can do.
It's like people have accused people like Al Sharpton of this for many years. It's
Yeah.
like you will manufacture outrage over anything
Because it
that's
keeps
how
you where you
make
are.
money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. You've made a giant living off of this.
Right.
And
So
so,
I think there's
yeah,
some of that too.
There's a ton of that. Yeah. So, so bottom line, do whatever you want to do. If you're an adult, chop your, cut whatever the fuck, get whatever surgeries you want, get on whatever hormones. I don't talk about bodybuilders because they're taking all the fucking hormones that they're taking because I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. When you're saying that an 11-year-old or a 6-year-old can decide what their gender is before they even know what the fuck human is, well, now you've got problems. There's a good reason that people are scrutinizing your message.
We're coming for you.
Yeah, now we're yeah. So, anyways, I just thought that was the whole health clinic being in the UK being shut down because now they've been shown by lawful entities that are not generally opposed to this type of thing. By digging into this, go, oh shit. There's a lot of fucking harm being done to kids here.
Right.
This is being
did
shut
we kind
down.
of get the whole story across?
Yeah.
That's why they were shut down.
Yes.
There was a study. I forget what the details.
Yeah, it
were,
was.
but,
It was. I believe. Well,
And it started from complaints from the families. But yeah,
Yes,
so enough
exactly.
of them were saying, look, you put my kid in this fucking program, and he's all fucked up, basically.
Yes, exactly. And it can't be reversed.
I remember when
now they're chemically castrated, and now they'll never live a fucking normal life, or physically castrated. You know what I
Right,
mean? We're
sure.
doing double mastectomies to 11-year-olds that haven't even developed yet. And this is not uncommon. It's not like people are like, oh, that's one person. No, it isn't.
It truly is horrific.
It's fucking
Really,
insane. You're castrating little boys that haven't even developed yet because
mean,
they
yes.
say, because in their mind they're like, I feel more like a girl. It's like, okay, I can't question that. Let's go.
Isn't circumcision bad enough?
Yeah, really,
Like we're
man.
all walking around like all.
I'm trying to get some more foreskin put on, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm fucking sick of this.
They do that.
Gets
There's
chilly out
Have you
in
ever
the
seen
winter.
that? There was a
The Farmer's Almanac said that we're going to be shivering and shoveling.
Yeah, the Farmer's Almanac said it's going to be cold in the winter, warm in the summer. That
I don't know where they get their
that was
information.
useful
but they're like
information at one
psychics.
time. But
They're
yeah.
like fucking psychics, man.
But no, there was a guy. I saw like a video a long time ago about a guy who figured out how to regrow your foreskin. Did you ever see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looked like it was like you have to like hang hooks
don't do
from
it.
it and shit. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
about
no,
this.
nah,
Yeah,
do it. Now, it's funny how real and unreal can both be in agreement, and then there's this third bullshit of what the fuck. Yes. Welcome, all weird or strange. If we all were exactly the same, how boring would that be? We wouldn't be all the same. That's the thing. It's
It'll
like-
never happen.
Yeah, that's not what anyone, I don't think, is arguing for. It's just the lunacy being shoved down the throats of an entire population, to me, seems agenda driven. It smacks of some sort of.
And it's like, yeah, it's like we were talking. There's a lot more establishment support of this than a lot of things that seem more reasonable to me, like ending drug prohibition, for example. that you can openly call insane, and no one's
And
going to
nobody
call
gives-
you out.
nobody will bat an eye.
And a lot of the large corporations in this company are not going to back that policy because there's all sorts of ties going
Yeah,
on,
exactly.
and blah blah blah, whatever. But the point is, there's a lot of things that are considered more radical than this, and they're still acting like they're the most fucking persecuted and targeted people in the country.
Yes.
I've had people tell me literally last year. I was talking to somebody, and they were like, "Well, my trans friends." Or no, it was while Trump was in office. And they were like, well, my trans friends are in more danger than ever because of the emboldening of the
Yeah, I've heard
hatred
this,
and
yeah.
stuff. So I just looked it up to want to know the statistics. And it was like you said,
Yeah.
there was an overwhelming majority, they kill each other like anyone else.
Yes,
you know?
domestic violence.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really what it is. Now, Michael says there's a foreskin booth at Swaparama in Melrose. So that's good to know. Thank you. I'm going to probably go and take a look and see what they got and take a look at their wares. All right, enough of this.
Yeah, man, we did the thing. I
We
guess.
did the thing. Come on. We're fucking harping on
I
at,
know.
at a,
We're just saying things we've said before,
oppressed
probably.
minority, and it's just.
No,
But it's
no
always
more,
it's always there though.
no more punching down. Okay,
Yeah.
can we talk? About
I don't think we can punch down.
It would be awfully hard,
It
yeah.
would be very, very, very difficult
like a
for us to
fucking
punch down.
centipede punching a flea, maybe or something. But
Yeah,
like,
there's very few people lower than us.
there's not a lot of options. Yeah.
There's nothing there.